Greetings, everyone. I'd like to take a moment to thank all of you who have taken the time to listen to our show and support us in doing so. This episode's a little bit different and a bit of an experiment on our part. Here, you will hear an interaction that some of our quieter characters had together back in the Blackfish Tavern before leaving for Starlight. Adira and Foresight get to know each other a bit better, and the relationship grows that much closer. I hope you enjoy.
Alright, so I've got a few papers here. They're all about how to learn as much as you can about someone in a shorter time as period. See, I knew I'd mess it up. I knew it. I'm flustered. Okay. I've got a few papers here. They're all about learning as much as you can about someone in a short period of time. I figured since I'm not very experienced with this kind of thing, and I've got papers from someone who's much more experienced since, they wrote a book on doing this. I figured it'd be best to start with this and use it as a kind of learning point for both of us.
Okay, easy enough.
I haven't actually gone through these questions, so it'll be an experience for the both of us in that way too, I guess.
Surprises are good.
The first question is simple enough. What is your full name?
Well, I go by Adira Malka because that was the queen's name and it's the only name I know. I don't go by queen anymore, of course. It's a bit out of place now.
I'll make sure to keep that in mind for future. The second question is, where and when were you born?
Well, in the boneyard, but I really don't know when. Time is really different in Abaddon, so a year here could be a second there, or vice versa. If we could find out when the queen died, that would give us a ideal of when I was born.
Okay, I think I should definitely do some research on both the queen and the boneyard. I'm certain there are a lot of questions that I could ask, but would be just as easy to look up myself. The third question is, do you remember anything about your parents?
I didn't have parents. I was created either by the queen or by someone she paid as a receptacle, I suppose, to ensure her more immortality. So I have a few memories of her father that was king before her, but he's not my father.
Right. That makes sense. I guess I could also look into the queen's lineage and share any information if you would want to know more.
Yes. My memories, or her memories, they're broken. I don't know if that's because of them being transferred over or simply because of Abaddon. So there's a lot I don't know about her.
Okay, I should definitely write a note to self section of things to research for the future, because provided this goes well, there will probably, if you don't mind, be more or similar interviews like this.
That's fine. I don't have a problem talking about it. It's actually kind of good to talk about it because I can't tell a lot of people. It freaks them out.
Well, everything freaks me out, so if there was anyone you wanted to get the same reaction as showing a new type of bread as being related to a demon, it'd be me. The fourth one, So, the question is just a full physical description. I can get most of that by myself. Height, race, you've already told me, hair and eye color. Do you have any specific features or distinguishing marks that you think that I should know about, or that might not be entirely obvious that I could write down?
Well, I was created to be flawless, unblemished, so I guess the powers changed that a little, my hair and eyes and such, but no, it's pretty much what you see is what you get. No surprises.
Okay. These questions are pretty good so far. What is your... Well, I guess I could write down that by myself. Are there any phrases or words that you find yourself using frequently?
It's more of a matter of trying to avoid certain words and phrases. Because I tend to mimic her speech patterns. And she was very commanding, very demeaning of people. And I'm trying to sway away from that.
I see. If you like, I can keep an ear out and help catch anything that you might want to filter out in the future.
Yeah, just tap me on the shoulder and shake your head at me or something.
He'll just smile and nod. This is... What do you have in your pockets?
Not much. A few coins. I'm made from begging on the streets. But I don't really own anything much at this point. I mean, I did a little shopping this morning for the trip, of course, but I'd originally thought of like buying a blanket, but then I found the church and they provide us with blankets and shelter and such. So I've mostly just been trying to save my coin.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Do you remember anything from your previous childhood? Or the Queen's childhood?
A little. She was unhappy as a child because as the firstborn, she was destined to be queen, and her entire life was centered around learning how to do that. Training from basically the time she could walk and talk. So she was really unhappy. She made up for that by trying to be a good mother to her kids, to our kids. She didn't want them to have an unhappy childhood.
It's a lot to do with memories, it would seem. I guess I don't remember which book it was in. There was a phrase that kept popping up that is, you are the sum of your memories.
That's yeah. That's why I struggle. I think I don't want to be her.
That just means we have to make more memories.
Well, looks like we're about to have an adventure, so that will help you, right? I mean,
He gives an excited nod. the next question, the reason I bring that up is, what is your earliest memory?
Well, setting aside her memories, my first memory is standing in line at the boneyard. Like I said, time is different there. And I seemed to stand there forever, though, if I'd known where I was going to end up, I would have been happy to stay there. I don't even think I knew at that point that I wasn't her. But that's when my reality started.
It definitely seems you have to do a lot of research into the boneyard, exactly how people are connected to it.
Do you know what the boneyard is?
I know it enough as an afterlife or a limbo.
Kinda. When everyone goes to the boneyard when they die, and you await your judgment there. And from there, your afterlife is decided. And unfortunately, I had to serve her punishment.
That seems unfair.
Yeah, well, I suppose only the extremely rich get to even try to accomplish such a thing, so I suppose it doesn't happen often.
I wonder... No. I'm certain with enough study, we could break your connection with the Queen entirely. It's not fair that you would have to suffer for someone else's mistakes.
That is my overriding hope. Technically being Shabti, I don't know if you know this. I don't age. So I will only ever die through like violence or illness. But I don't want to shut myself away to prevent that from happening. So I would like to change my destiny.
I can tell you from personal experience, the hermetic lifestyle is stable and nothing else. It is not a lifestyle I would suggest to anyone unless absolutely necessary. But, I think I'm getting a little bit off topic. Well, I don't have to ask about school. Have you had anyone that you find yourself looking up to, since you've been here? Perhaps as a role model?
No, not really. I've only been here a few days. And spent most of that time begging on the street. So, but yeah, we've got a whole crew of friends now, so maybe that will change.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to ask about growing up. There's a lot about childhood. Have you, probably, have you, kissed anyone since you've, been here?
No, no, I've never been kissed. I've only been here about 3 days, and
That makes
not
sense.
a lot of kissing going on in Abaddon.
That makes a lot of sense. Moving on from that, are you a Virgo? If not, When and whom? Wait. How? Uh. Uh. Um. So, I may have missed. Maybe I should skip this. But what if it's important? I mean, this guy has a lot more experience than me.
Just go ahead and ask what.
Are you a virgin? And if not, when and whom did you lose your virginity to?
I am. Like I said, Abaddon's not really a romantic place. I remember what sex was like for her, so I look forward to experiencing it for myself, but not yet.
Looking for, like, I, that that makes sense. I guess. Anyway, moving on to the next. Okay. Maybe I should start reading ahead before talking.
It's fine. It doesn't bother me.
It is very clear that the boy's face is not nearly as pale as it once was. His eye contact that he'd been at least attempting to maintain is non-existent.
Bothers him, if not her.
Suddenly, bothers might not be the right word. He doesn't seem upset.
How red can Foresight turn?
Well, you see, normally he's very pale. He doesn't have the darkest complexion. That might not be. You might not be able to tell that from how he is now. Tomatoes wish they could be as red as him.
That's perfect.
He makes deep, loving eye contact with the notebook in front of him, and continues on. I know that you told me that you're a Shabti. Is there anything about the Shabti specifically that you haven't told me yet that might be, I guess, anything at all that could be elaborated on?
Well, I just told you about the fact that I won't age. Of course, I was created to be a receptacle for her memories. This is done by people as an attempt to gain immortality. She didn't become immortal, though. When she died, I appeared in the boneyard to take her punishment for the life she lived, and I was sent to Abaddon. She, of course, then became a clean soul, just like a new soul with nothing imprinted on it. So she would have been returned to the River of Life so she could be reborn. The psychopomp charged with taking me to Abaddon understood what had taken place and took pity on me, which is very unusual. I don't know if you know anything about psychopomps, but they typically just don't care. But in order to help me protect myself, they gave me my power, which is a lot like magic, except that I don't have to cast any spells. Things just happen for me. And the power affected my physical form, of course. My eyes went from being a deep green to being solid white, and my hair changed from a raven color to this white hair that frills out. My lips turned blue. It's rare for Shabti to or it's rare for anybody to escape Abaddon, but it's rare for Shabti to make it to the material plane. So I'm an oddity, I guess.
Thank you. That's quite elucidating. Very informative. So what I feel like I could figure what the answer is going to be. What would you consider the most important events in your life thus far?
Definitely being rescued from Abaddon. No one escapes that place. You're sent there to basically have your soul tortured and devoured. So I was lucky.
Of course. I'm glad you're here. Would you say, this is a bit... Who would you say has had the most influence on you?
Well, I suppose it would have to be the Queen, since I carry her memories. I want that to change. I want to find a life for myself and become whoever I'm meant to be.
I think that you're on a very good route to starting that. I think, at least from the stories that I've read, adventurers are the most individualistic people in all of the planes. They defy the standards of their race, their culture, civilization, sometimes the laws of their realms. I don't know if we're going to be doing any of that, but I think that this little adventure is a good start.
I hope so. I suppose one can learn a lot from a journey.
He nods in affirmation. Seems at least a bit more relaxed now. What's the most embarrassing thing to have happened to you in this life?
Well, when I was taken out of Abaddon, didn't know where I was going, I woke up on a beach here in Stormbluff. Not really understanding everything that was going on. So I walked into the nearest inn and demanded room and food for a queen. And so, of course, everybody laughed and mocked me. There was a serving wench that could see how confused I was, and she thought me to be crazy, basically. But she took some pity on me and gave me some stale bread and an apron to cover myself, as I wasn't wearing anything.
How?
Yeah.
Well, that actually kind of reminds me. One of the stories that I read, I suppose it had a very similar start, or your story starts in the middle of theirs, which I guess isn't that untrue for the Queen. There was a woman who had only just begun her reign as queen before she was betrayed by the people around her, as it seems politics are so common to do. And she was cast out to her people, the poor, the disheveled, and these nobles thought those that they believed below them were animals or mongrels or beasts, and they thought that they would tear this woman to pieces. But instead, they saw betrayal, they saw that she was hurt, and they took her in. When they did this, even though they didn't have much, they gave what they could. They gave almost everything that they had for her. And she realized that she wasn't above these people, that these were people just like her, just like everyone else. And she gained a true respect for these people. She lived with them for a long while, and once the people had grown to trust her, she became a beacon of hope for them. She, as well as many others that were cast aside, ex-knights, some nobles that had lost their fortunes, or a large portion of it at least, band together and created a rebellion. And they hosted a coup, pushing out all of those betrayers, all of the corrupts, anyone who would seek out power over their own humanity. And they posted this queen back up into a rightful position, but this time it wasn't a position that she'd gained through birthright. It was a position that she'd earned by earning the trust of her people and by truly understanding everyone around her. She reigned for the entirety of her natural life and died of old age, and her people loved her throughout the entire reign. She truly learned to understand everyone. So, I just talked a lot.
It's okay. It's a nice story. I don't think I would want to roll.
Maybe not ruling, but I think that even if in the moment that situation was a bit embarrassing, I think it's a really good start. And no matter how low anyone starts, they can achieve and go to any heights if they press on and they trust those around them and they learn everything that they can.
Well, I've already come a ways, I guess. I have a friend now, yes?
I like to think so.
So, progress.
What is your best memory thus far?
That would definitely be being rescued from Abaddon by the psychopomp. I didn't know where I was going, but I couldn't imagine there being a worse place. So, the first moment in your life when you know that there could possibly be a future.
No, even though you came from such a terrible, terrible place, I'm certain that we'll go to great, great places in the future. I wonder if there's any way to contact the psychopomp, either to give thanks or maybe recompense.
I don't know. They left me one of their feathers, and she'll hold up a feather that's braided into her hair, and I wear it in my hair, so I don't forget ever.
he very quickly flips back to our previous page, he's somewhat frantically searching for one of the something, and then he begins reading back in. Oh. Thank you. I think that counts as a distinct feature.
I suppose I didn't think of it that way because it's not my, well, it is my feather, but it's not my feather.
I think that in more ways than one, it's a part of you. It's a part of who you are.
Oh, definitely.
He has a genuine smile. Foresight is not the nervous wreck he was just a few minutes ago. Would you consider yourself an optimist or a pessimist?
I'm really not certain. I've only been here about 3 days. Don't fully understand the world around me. So I need to know more about it and find my place in it. Then maybe I could give you an answer.
I'm really eager to see how your thoughts change and form as time goes on.
Well, it seems like this journey will last for a little while, so you'll likely get that chance.
What is your greatest fear?
Being returned to Abaddon. I don't think I could survive it again. I would probably just stand up and let the demons find me and let myself be destroyed at that point. I don't want to go through that again.
At the mention of her wish for her own oblivion over returning to Abaddon, Foresight's face takes a turn for the serious. He makes direct eye contact, and with as steady a voice as he can manage, if there is any way I can prevent you from going back there, I promise I will do whatever I can to see you not returned.
That means a lot. There would not be words for enough gratitude if you could prevent that from happening.
I promise. I'll do everything I can.
Thank you. Thank you.
I wonder if these questions are out of order. This seems like a very drastic turn. What, if any, political views have you formed?
Well, I don't know anything about politics here. Maybe if we were in Helios, I don't know. It's been a long time, but it might still be similar. I might be able to have a informed viewpoint at that. But I know that sometimes, I know from her memories that it sometimes what is best for the whole can mean hurting a few, and it's not always pleasant, but it can't really be avoided. And I know that the minute you gain any kind of power or political power, there's a target on you from then on, and those you love and those you want to protect. So politics seems very dangerous to me. I will likely just avoid it.
Yeah, I guess now that I think about it, every single story I've read involving politics either ends or begins with a proverbial or sometimes literal knife in the back. Politics are scary. I hope we don't have to deal with anything big like that.
Me too. Through her eyes, I've seen some pretty bad things. I think I told you at one point that she executed her brother and exiled her husband because they both made bids for her throne.
I really, really don't like politics.
So, yeah, if we can avoid that, that would be great. Well,
He,
if politics come up, we'll let Riley handle it. He likes to talk to people.
that sounds like a good idea. He looks down. It seems he's very quick to get to the next question. What are your views on set?
Um, well, based off her memories, it seems to be a very enjoyable experience. And of course, that can result in one of the greatest forms of love, that of a mother and a child. So, we'll go with good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Doesn't seem like there's going to be any response on that statement. I don't like the way this is phrased. It's dangerous out of civilization. If it comes down to it, do you think that you could find it in yourself to take another's life?
Well, I've never killed anyone. But based on what I've glimpsed of her memories, I'd say it's sometimes necessary. So I would hope that if I had to, I could do so in order to protect myself and you and the others. But I guess that's one of those things you just can't know for certain until you face it.
I think a pragmatic view is best. It's better not to dwell on those of the past. In your opinion, what is the most evil thing a person can do?
Oh, that's actually difficult to say. My mind is still so occupied by the terrors of Abaddon that what I've witnessed here in the last 3 or 4 days really seems to pale in comparison. Maybe it will become clear once I've been here a while.
Farsight nods along thoughtfully as he writes. He may be speaking simply to fill space as he writes. It doesn't seem like he's very conscious of the words he's saying. Many of the stories I've read believe that nothing of nature or divinity will come close to the creativity or the cruelty of mankind. Let's let's hope we're never in a position to learn if that sentiment's true or not. I think.
Agreed.
What do you believe makes someone successful?
Well, for myself, I think I will consider myself successful if I am able to find an identity for myself separate from hers, where where I can answer your questions without having to refer back to her every time.
Well, I think that with each passing day, your personalities will become more and more distinct and separate from one another.
I hope so.
I'm sure of it. He says with a confidence, a bit of a strong word, but any other word fails me at this moment, so self-confident smile. did or do you have any biases or prejudices?
I try not to. Of course, the Queen tended to look down on lower class. But I've spent the last 3 days living as a beggar. I belong to that group now in a way, so I'm trying to rid myself of her preconceived notions and take people as they are and form my own opinions.
I don't really know if I can speak on that matter. Since I've lived hermetically, everything I know comes from stories, and many of these stories directly contradict each other. I
Well,
guess.
I suppose we'll learn together. Yes.
Is there anything that you would completely refuse to do?
I could never harm a child. Just could not. I love her children. I still feel that even separate from her. And every child I see playing in the streets, whatever, they all remind me of them on some level. And I don't think I could ever harm a child for any reason.
I think that that's perfectly fair and reasonable. Foresight seems to squirm a bit at the thought of harming children. Clearly uncomfortable with the idea. And in what way have you found yourself interacting with those around you?
Well, to be honest, and until we took the job to clear out the basement, I have more or less tried to avoid dealing with people too much. Until I can keep her voice quiet. I don't want to do and say things that might hurt other people. I talk some to the other street folk that sleep at the church, but that's mostly out of necessity. I do my best not to offend them, but it doesn't always work out. Sometimes I open my mouth and her words come out.
He seems to just silently nod. What's your favorite position? You know what? I think I'm just gonna go ahead and take this paper. I'm just gonna hold on to this piece of paper for. Okay. Next question. What do you find in a potential loved one or significant other?
Well, I've never really given it any thought. I guess I kind of need to know who I am before I can think along those lines.
That seems perfect.
Yeah. I mean, can somebody really love somebody else if they can't love themselves?
Just from stories, it seems love can be very dangerous if it's not raised with patience and care.
So yeah, I might have some metaphorical growing up to do before we get to that point.
What's the craziest thing you've done in bed? You know,
No.
I think I don't need any of these questions for anything at all. At all. No, don't need them.
Maybe those are meant for more advanced interviewers.
Don't even have to worry about it. I don't even remember any questions. I don't even. Just moving on to the next question, because
Yes. Okay.
Have you found yourself getting into any arguments with the locals here?
Not really. I'm not afraid of conflict if it's something I feel strongly about, but after Abaddon, most of the things people argue about seem rather simple or stupid or harmless, and so therefore meaningless. I see no reason to engage in it.
I think it's good not to argue. I'll try and do my best not to give you any reason to argue with me if I can help it.
I honestly cannot think of anything you could do that would upset me.
Let's keep it that way. Do you like interacting with large groups of people?
Right now, no. I'm still trying to get a good feel for how people take to me, how they react to me. My appearance seems to disturb some people. So I think until I have a better understanding of people around me and what might happen, that I'm probably not the best person to have at the forefront of a large group.
I think I can relate to that. Do you care what other people think about you?
Only to how it affects my ability to get by. I'm more concerned with learning what I think of myself.
I can appreciate this. Have you considered any hobbies yet?
No. Honestly, up to this point, my time has been spent begging for coin and trying to get by, so I haven't wasted money on anything.
Maybe while we're out, we can look around for something to occupy our free time at some point.
Yeah, that would be good. If you think of something that seems fitting for me, we'll give it a go.
I'll keep an eye out. What is your favorite? Why is this so deep? Why isn't this question number 2? What is your favorite color?
White, actually, because it's the color of the psychopomp that rescued me.
That's a better reason to have a favorite color than most, I think. Have you found anything that? Have you found the want to read anything at any point?
Not really. Like I said, my time's been concentrated on survival, but if I could find a history on the Queen, I would love to read that, kind of fill in the gaps from her memories. Maybe find out what happened to the children and to the country after she was gone.
I think I'd also like to know these things. I'll definitely be looking for any and all information that I can get. If I find related.
When we get to to Starlight, to the big city, surely they will have libraries and bookstores. Maybe we can go shopping.
He seems elated at the idea of libraries.
You like to read?
I do.
Good to know.
I'm sure I know the answer. Do you smoke, drink, or use any vice chemicals.
Oh, no, I've not wasted coin on frivolous things like that. Stable income and place to live seem far more essential.
He seems like it's clear on his face that he knew the answer, but he's still relieved to hear it out loud. How do you... Is there anything that you'd say would shock or offend you?
Well, after the horrors of Abaddon, there's not much that I think could shock me. I get offended sometimes at the way people treat me, and then I have to remind myself, I'm not a queen, I'm not a noble, I'm nobody to them.
As you see him jotting down these notes, there was a piece of paper that he removed previously when he said that he needed to make some notes to self, and he is vigorously underlining something before moving back to finishing up his writing. How do you deal with stress?
I really haven't experienced much stress since I've been in here. The worries of this world seem kind of trivial to me after all I've been through. The only thing that I could say stresses me is I still have nightmares, flashbacks maybe, about Abaddon that wake me up and frighten me. But there's not a whole lot that can be done about that, I don't suppose.
Maybe we could try to find some other things to make your mind focus on. Make it so there's no room for the nightmares anymore.
That would be wonderful. You know how sometimes you wake up and for that split second, it seems like you're still there in the dream.
She nods.
Like it might be real. And those moments, they're difficult. So hopefully I don't wake you up continuously.
If it happens, I don't mind. There have been many times when I could hear a bear or wolves rummaging outside the cave. It's pretty difficult to sleep when you know that they're that close.
I can see how that would be frightening.
With these nightmares, part of me wonders if it's because it's still so fresh in your mind. I wonder, as you're here, away from that, surely your mind will be filled with more positive thoughts. Nightmares tend to fade.
I hope so. I think a lot of what triggers it is in Abaddon, there is absolute silence. Not a single sound to be heard until the daemons catch someone. And then, of course, there's the screams. But it is so quiet at night. And I think it takes my mind back there.
He visibly gets a small shiver up his spine. I guess we'll just see what happens in time, and if time alone isn't enough, then we'll find what is.
Well, we're in a place full of magic now, so if nothing else, maybe there's a spell or something that can help.
he's kind of blushing just a little bit as he's formulating this sentence. I think that happiness can be a kind of magic.
Definitely a magic I'd like to find for myself.
Not quietly.
Okay, next question, yes?
Oh, yes. Describe a normal day for you.
Well, until I met you lot, it was pretty simple. I'd wake up and find a busy corner, sit there and watch people go by. They never knew I could see them, so... And I'd take whatever coin they tossed my way, save most of it. But spend a little on a meal for lunch and dinner. In the evenings, I'd go back to the church, and I like to listen to the sounds from the sanctuaries. I fall asleep, the priests and their nightly prayers. But, you know, then basements and rats and, yeah.
I do think that this question will change every single day from now on. Or at least the answer will.
Most likely. I'm excited. I had wanted to go to Starlight because it's a bigger city. I thought maybe more opportunities and stuff. But it's good not to have to make the journey alone.
If I'm being honest, being in a big city somewhat scares me, at least much more than the journey there.
Well, once we get there, just stick with me. I'll take care of you.
I'll keep that in mind. What is your greatest strength?
Well, I suppose it's because of my power, but I can blend into surroundings. It helped me to survive in Abaddon, and it's quite useful here too. I can make it so that I don't seem out of place, like I just belong, like I don't stand out at all. So people can just ignore me and walk on by.
Oh, so that's how I lost you.
Oh, in the crowd outside the church.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It wouldn't do for people to notice the blind woman walking around freely and take note of it, so.
That's kind of neat.
It's helpful.
If you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be?
Well, that's kind of hard. Because I'd love to be rid of the queen. But I don't know who I would be without her, if I'd even be a complete person without her at this point. So I guess if I'm completely honest, I also would put my hair and eyes back the way they were, but I need my power, so.
Do you not like the change?
I don't like the way people react when they see me. I make people nervous. It's unnatural to them, and so they're uncomfortable around it. And it would be nice to be able to walk into a room and not have people react that way.
I think I can understand that. What is your biggest life goal right now?
Well, I want to discover myself, learn who I am, and then find somebody to share that with and raise a family and have a simple life, I suppose.
Foresight breaks a small smile at the mention of self-discovery, and it becomes warmer the more she talks. He seems to appreciate the simplicity and the niceness of these goals. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Well, hopefully with a comfortable life, as myself, not dominated by the Queen's memories. I'm a fairly simple person, I think.
I think simple's good. If you could choose how you died, what would be your preference?
I don't think I care how much how it happens as when it happens. I wouldn't want to die until I was certain that I would be judged for the life I lived and not hers.
That is a fair one. What are 3 words that you would describe yourself?
That I don't really know. I can tell you that the other beggars and street folks tend to call me uppity. I'm not sure if that's a word, but yeah, I don't really know. Well, I suppose from all these questions, simple.
It's okay if you can't think of a 3rd one. As long as the seed's been planted, we can come back to any questions that you change your mind on, or any views that have evolved. So I'm certain they will, the more you become your own person.
I think it would be interesting to go through these questions again 6 months or a year down the road
It'd be fun.
and see how much has changed.
I don't know if I want this added or not. I think I'll put it here. Why do you pretend to be blind?
Oh, that is a rather simple thing. Stormbluff has a number of poor in it, and those that would give only have a limited amount of resources to give. So the more in need you seem, the more likely somebody is to give you a coin to buy a meal or something of that nature. So, I mean, my eyes are solid white. People assumed from the get-go that I must not be able to see. And it meant that I was able to get enough coin to care for myself.
I see. So it's a means of differentiation.
Basically, yes. Not particularly. I don't feel good about having to beg. So, of course, when I heard about the job at the tavern, I immediately took it. I thought maybe if I could prove I was a capable person, it would lead to other work. But at the time, it seemed a necessity.
I can understand this. That was all of the questions for now.
Okay. Well, that wasn't so hard.
Yeah. I like this.
I think it helps. It makes me think about things I wouldn't normally think of. And makes it a little easier to see pieces of myself.
Mm-hmm.
So, Yeah, this is good.
A lot of the studies I've seen or read about say that self-reflection is one of the quickest ways to self-discovery.
So you may want to go through the rest of your questions there and decide beforehand next times which ones you want to burn.
I don't remember missing any questions.
That's good.
No, we went through all of them.
Okay. Good to know.
He will very swiftly close the book, and those 2 sheets of bald paper are in his pack.
They don't exist.
Never to be seen again.
Yes, they don't exist. They're gone.
Yay.
Yay!
We did.
We're so talented.
Yeah. Also, I got a smirk on my face when I realized I think it was the first session, maybe the second session. I said,
Right.
I'm never going to add, like, I find it hilarious the idea of Inmiera following this woman in order to ask her why she's blind, and then never in an
ask.
episode asking why. And this way,
Yeah.
in the main line, he will never ask that question now.
That is so funny. Well, you get distracted. She does so many things that you're like, what the hell? Why this? Why that?
What's this? There's something in her hair. What's this? There's people everywhere.
That's the part she's not crazy about. She's actually like, she's not fond of Elf Murder Castle by any means.
Yeah.
But there's not so many people to have to deal with there.
Yeah. Honestly, he's probably, provided he doesn't die while we are within, once we are without, he will still think that going to the city will be more terrifying than this castle.
I think really the reason the city doesn't bother her so much is because she can blend in and just be ignored.
Mm-hmm.
But like, she's so determined to make sure that nothing happens to Foresight.
Yeah.
That
Foresight's just scared because before coming here, he'd never seen more than one person at any point in time.
Oh yeah. You're probably far more familiar with the trees than people. So
Not an accurate statement, and one I'm certain Sean will laugh at.
But yeah, probably walking around going, okay, Foresight, what kind of tree is this? What kind of plant is this?
I would like to thank our Patreons, Tim Demuse and Brian Rafe, for helping to support our show. If you would like to help support the show, please consider joining them at patreon.com/Eldritch Dream. Want to hang out with us in our Discord? Send us a message on social media or check the episode description for a link. Welcome to the Hive. I'd like to shout out some of the other podcasts and creators that are in the Hive. Give them a listen and check out the episode description for their Twitter handles. Action Forge on YouTube, making varied videos related to TTRPGs. Filmore's Crossing, a spaghetti western 5th edition podcast. The Hideous Laughter podcast, playing the Carrying Crown adventure path. Our very own Chris, or Critically Accursed, on YouTube, doing Let's Plays. Hex Grid Heroes, a Starfinder homebrew podcast. Rusted Chrome, one of the character artists in our group. The Roaring Trainers, a Pokemon in the 1920s 5th edition podcast. The podcast for the Untimely Dead, playing Wraith the Oblivion in the World of Darkness system. The Weal or Woe podcast, playing a Pathfinder 2nd edition playtest in a homebrew world. Mystery Fantasy Dungeon 9000, a multi-edition Dungeons & Dragons podcast in a 22-year-old living homebrew world. Until next time, everybody, may the Elder Gods haunt your dreams.